All right. Yeah, I can hear you now. Your brother's box is echoing? Oh, yeah, it is. Oh, let's get 105 to this person back here.
I'm not done yet. Enemy agent right here.
Wait, actually, what is... Chasing challenges. Alright, that's good enough. Yeah, that was a practice game. I didn't have none of my stream stuff set up, so don't count. Hello?
The ring isn't really complex, but it can be a little complicated. Wait, what'd I just say?
I'm watching.
I cannot wait to win this match, friend.
Watching.
Introducing your champion.
This might be a good place to land. Here we go. It's a long drop. Fun.
Oh, it's 2x. And the blue clip from my heavy
Off the grid. Should stay.
guy.
Dibs.
Okay.
Blood and it's not us. Wonderful.
Okay. Yeah. Zeddy, what up? The new gear-based video. Yeah, it was something I made a while ago and I never used because I don't know. I thought it cut out too much of the stuff,
RE45 here.
but I want to go minimalistic, so I changed some other stuff up too.
Let's transfer to this spot.
Shield cell here.
Oh shit! I can use that. I can use that. There's a white one here if you wanted 0.
Level 1.
Shotgun bolt here. Level 2.
It's inside. It's over here. Right there. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I gotta finish this post. I wish I could just like put it on follow and like let my guy follow you guys for a second.
Syringe here.
Oh, oh man. Yeah. There you go. Yeah, I just dropped all my heavy. And that. And this.
Extended heavy mag here. Heavy ammo here.
Heavy ammo here.
Yeah, man. It's always the same thing. Like every game, it's like I can't find enough heavy. And then there's a Havoc, so it's like, might as well.
Enemy spotted.
Oh, yep. Somebody else flew in on him. Somebody's coming down the hill. Get out of here, Gibby. Somebody's right there. Oh, yeah. I shot into that gas. I didn't hit anybody. Over here. In the gas. He's right behind you. He's right. Ah. Oh yeah, yeah, it's another squad engaging them. Yep. So am I. Ah!
I don't consider death cruel, but life.
Level 3. Fertilizer here. Level 4.
Alright, so post is done. Well, thank you, Zeddy. I appreciate it. Yeah, I had to actually make it in like GIMP or something. I actually made it out of, yeah, and then like used the whole thing as a color, then as a cutout, and put it in as like a mask over the. It was quite a bit of work, and then I was upset when like it seemed to cut out too much of it. So I wound up just not even using it, like a dum-dum.
What you see is not what you get.
Powered up and ready to go.
So this can go to the
This
mixer.
match is gonna be extravagant. That's the word.
What's making noise?
Introducing your champion.
Follow me. I'm the jump master.
I'm gonna give that up.
I'm the jump master.
Why is there?
Exemplify following.
I've been watching combatants my whole life. I learned
Oh,
a few
that clip was playing in the background.
Let's land here.
things. This is how it has to be.
Loud and clear.
I'm sorry.
Hold your breath. If you have a respiratory system. Let's check out over there.
All right. Oh, I landed on the hallway by accident. I wasn't even looking. I was like changing my screens on my computer.
Round 1. Beginning ring countdown.
All right. If I don't Found one. Right now I'm running this
First blood on the enemy.
triple take and RA-45. Yeah, I just found one.
Level 1. Watch out for the new kill leader, friend.
Anything cooler than a triple take?
Helmet here. Level 1. RE45 here.
Yeah, I got RA-45 as well. I just got a choke for the triple take. That changes things up a bit.
G7 scout here.
Good 0-2 if you want. Actually, yeah, I'm gonna stick with what I got. I have attachments all on my triple take, so I'm gonna run that for a minute. Ooh, is there any ammo with it? Oh, yeah, I'll take it. I just found some ammos. Take this Evo.
Level 2. Helmet here. Level 2. Shotgun bolt here. Level 2.
Yeah, I just found some with this wingman, so I'm gonna take.
Optics here. Close range.
I'll take that 2X if nobody wants it. Alright,
Close. Rings nearby.
okay, yeah, I dibs the blue.
Sniper stock here. I have
The
I have
2X is
extended-
what I
Gotta
dibsed.
hop up here. Choke.
The ring is
Alright,
close.
shit.
Contact.
Alright, we're coming. Yeah, I never made it that far. And Grim came back to me.
We're close to the ring. Get prepared. 30 seconds
Ah.
left.
Oh, there's a Prowler here.
Prowler
Yeah.
SMG here.
Yeah.
Take that.
Ow. Where's this bird box at?
How about this way?
The ring moves in
There's
10.
still blue. Oh, people. Well, I just shot in circles around them.
I'm down. I need to get back here.
Goddamn blue is home. Look at you. How about this way? To recharge. Throw my grenade out. Throwing arc star.
That's a good one. Just
Reloading. Shot fired. Is that it to me?
yeah, if I was doing art, or when I do art,
Got one right here.
Reloading.
the Apex screen would probably be the art.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. We wiped the squad. I am taking fire.
Yeah, second squad.
Kill missile little.
Fast guy, fast guy.
Talented enemy.
Nice.
Shots fired and they're hitting me. I think that was the. Just relax. I got everything under control.
Yeah, let me.
Havoc rifle here. Optics here.
I'm dropping a U sight in here.
Optics here. Close range.
Oh yeah, I definitely need some heavy. Thank you.
I'll take that. Standard stock here. Level 2. Syringe here.
Oh, I got a bunch of light. I don't need. Yeah, I can drop some. I got 100. Here. Oh shit, I need syringes.
Recharging
I only have.
shields.
Oh, but I got a med kit too, so I'm good.
Light ammo here.
Yeah, I got plenty of light.
Just gotta patch
I only
myself
got
up.
2 clips of heavy.
Giving my shields a recharge. I am repairing myself.
Recharging my shield.
New kill leader. Soon to be me. Optics here. Mid-range.
Alright. Yeah. 60.
Round 2. Beginning ring countdown.
Syringe here. Lucky us.
Yeah, we can go around. We can go around. We can go around.
Extended light mag here. Level 1.
Sending out my decoy.
Alexa, play Mercules.
I'm having trouble connecting to the internet. Take a look at the help section in your Alexa app.
What?
Something good there.
Yeah, I'm light and heavy this round.
Shield.
I
Light
got
ammo
it.
here.
I gotta get
Standard stock here. Level 2.
LMG kills.
Thermite grenade here. Syringe here.
Standard stock here. Level 1.
No, I'm good. I'm good. I don't care. I'm gonna cross up to these houses. Oh,
Using grapple.
Standard stock here. Level 1.
Enemy spotted. It looks small.
alright, do you wanna go investigate? Alright. Alexa, play Mercules.
I'm having trouble connecting to the internet.
Here I go.
In your Alexa app.
Something good there. Target spotted.
Has been eliminated.
Let's transfer to this spot.
Here, let me throw my drone up and get some eyeballs.
Adding an extra pair of eyes.
Enemy
Oh
spotted.
yeah, they're shooting my drone. Oh shit,
Log documents wrong.
I'm EMPing them. Alright, they're EMP'd. What the fuck? It won't let me climb up. There we go.
I got a bad guy. Opening fire on you. Lucky us. We are already inside the ring. Recharging shields. Hostile spotted.
He's back. I'm right behind you.
Target over there.
He's down. Yeah, there's a full squad up there. Alright, 2 down up there. Just that caustic.
Great. Already inside the ring.
Oh, he's hurt. He's right behind his barrel. Nice. Yeah, he's down.
I'm the new kill leader. Don't worry, I'm here.
They're above us. They're above us.
Firing. The enemies are shooting at me.
Oh, we're going back up there.
Spotted one.
Yeah, just heal up.
Reloading. Giving my shields a recharge. The All-Father has gifted me with the better strength.
Nice shooting. Nice shooting. Somebody's being respawned too.
That champion did really. Contact with target. Contact. Hostile right here.
Get wrecked, son.
Attention. There is a new kill leader.
Awesome fucking possum.
Body shield here. Level 2. Level 2.
They tried to get rid of me. They failed.
Just gotta pass myself up.
In box level.
There. Hostile over there.
I'm looting this real quick. Alright.
Yeah, getting shot at. Get out there and bamboozle. Threw my grenade out. Frag out. I am taking fire, friends. Opening fire on the enemy.
He's down. Yep.
I downed one.
Reloading.
Killed.
Hostile
One of
over
them
there.
back here. Reloading.
Oh no, oh he does have a throwable. Alright.
Taking some damage. Giving my shield to recharge.
Grenade out.
Just got pulsed, there's heavy in here.
Heavy ammo here.
Go bamboozle.
Yeah, I was looking for nades. Oh, there's 2.
Body shield here. Level 3.
The ring is close.
Zero, you gotta heal up.
Seconds. Body shield here.
I got heals here.
Throwing thermite grenade. Shield cell here.
There's a bunch of heals in my box right here. And I got a purple helmet in here.
Helmet here. Level 3 body shield here. Spitfire here.
Repairing. 30 seconds remain. The ring is nearby.
Okay. There we go. And that's how it's done, son. Yeah, that I didn't pick the
Repair. Got one spotted. How about this way?
Alright. Yeah, I didn't pick up the Spitfire. I went with the Peacekeeper because I was wrecking kids. I got 3 kills because of that choke. Yeah, I'm good on that.
Energy ammo.
Yeah, I'm shotgunning light now. Sure. Sure.
Round 5. Beginning ring countdown.
Go bamboozle.
They're up there. They're at the next. They're up in the next house, and they're on the roof.
Far. I see you.
Going through my grenade. Frag out. Frag out. Target's right in front of me. There's one right here. I am down.
Oh, he's got a red shield. Alright, he's down.
I put them down.
Contact with target.
She, no, put him down, put him down, put him down. Yeah, she was using your shields for cover. Yeah. No, she was ducking behind it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, she was like ducking down, like her whole body, like she would pop off a Peacekeeper and then disappear behind your shield, and then pop up and pop off a Peacekeeper and disappear behind your shield. Hmm. And now I'm done with crypto. Now I need 11 headshots with light machine guns, and that'll give me a battle pass level. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So I gotta be Watson. I gotta restore 2,000 shields with Watson.
So I like to have a little fun. So what?
Gunpowder needs a spark.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
promised my grapple.
Introducing your champion.
No, it's not. But it also heals. That's not a daily, so I can't. But it also
Master.
heals enemies too. Yeah. So I just need to put my thing down like whenever we're sitting still for a second.
Can't
Yeah.
wait to win.
Where to? Want to do the shift factory?
Let's land here.
Going to the shit factory. Me and my friends, we're going to the shit factory. Gotta hit those turbo boosters. Whoosh. Yeah, no, I see somebody in front of me.
That's
Oh, Sentinel's gonna get me killed. Yep, one definitely is.
Sending out my decoy. Opening fire.
Oh yeah, that robot just walked. Oh, I just downed the robot.
Took an enemy down. Pretty good for an electrical engineer, no?
Bad news. I'm down. Got one here.
He's over here.
Opponent over here.
Oh, he's hurt though. He's getting him up. He's getting him up.
The enemy is here.
Okay,
The enemy is here.
and they are up. Haha, nice.
Taken down.
Chibs, you stink like shit, bud.
I got you, friend.
Kill leader.
I'm the new kill leader. Excelsior.
My synapses are firing again. Thank you. Killing my enemy.
Oh, they're over here. Over here. Yeah.
Enemy right here.
I don't have a whole lot of bullets left. Oh, here we go. I just found bullets.
I am taking fire, friends. Enemy down.
Alright.
I
Yep.
killed an enemy.
Oh, I thought he got you up. Okay. No, I got, no, I don't.
We're a team of
Alright.
two now. I've got your
I'm gonna come and cover you. I got shields. Okay.
just topping up their shields.
No, he didn't loot. Yeah, he didn't loot. Oh yeah. Is there a better second gun than a Sentinel? Yeah, I'll take the Peacekeeper. I'll take the Peacekeeper. Alright, let's. What the fuck, man?
1 sec, healing up.
Yeah,
Rings far,
yeah.
closing in 45.
Enemy
I'm probably
very
gonna have to
close.
run.
Now they're down here with me. Yep.
God bamboozled. Look at you.
Yeah, they used the respawn. They got people back. So.
Happy about this.
Zero is.
Heavy ammo here. Peacekeeper here.
Chibs, your shit smell is very distracting. Oh, I got a phase 15 squad mates, so I will do that. I'll be Wraith. Huh? Phase 15 squad mates. Yeah, so go in. Yeah, but it's, I think it's called a rift, actually. I don't know.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest, I am afraid. I'm really
Trust me.
afraid.
Something like that.
Nothing scares me.
Something like that.
Good luck. Have fun. Don't die.
Introducing your champion.
Pain, death. Nothing phases me.
So that's what fear smells like. Yeah, Skull Town, it is, bro. Let's fucking get it. Let's do this.
Hold your breath. If you have to breathe, forget that. Might be
On the
something
far side?
this way.
Alright.
Yep.
Target spotted.
Oh shit, you're landing there. I thought you were going on the other side. Alright. No, it's fine.
First blood on the enemy.
I just took the rooftops like Spider Woman. Yeah, I got a Spitfire, so I'm okay. Well, I don't really have the ammo for it, but
Helmet here. Level 1.
thank you.
Great. Bicycle here. Inside the ring.
Level 1. Triple take here.
You know, I'm gonna go down. I'm gonna go check those bins out back. Yeah. No, I have a Spitfire, but I only got 50 bullets for it, so that's 50 bullets total. I'm gonna try this Eva.
Hemlock here.
Prowler SMG here.
Oh, and there's a double tap. Scout and double tap.
Heavy ammo here.
Gotta hop up here.
Dibs.
Show me.
I need it.
Oh yeah.
Ammo here.
I have a bunch of light too. So I can drop a shit ton of light for you. I'm energy and heavy this game. I have not.
Extended heavy mag here.
Yeah, I got a blue heavy. I got a blue heavy. You can take the purple Grim. Here you go, Zero. Or Grim, whoever needs that. I know you came for the scout, so. Alright.
Attention.
So it is time to ruin people's
Champion made a poor
dreams.
choice.
Oh, Prowler.
Prowler SMG here.
Oh, there's a shit ton of heavy everywhere. This never happens.
Eva 8 here.
Syringe here.
There's never this much heavy. Nah, I got one. Thank you, sir.
Body shield here. Level 2.
Okay. I got an Eva.
Here I go.
Guess I'll never run the Evo shield.
Shield cell here.
Oh, we're pushing. Okay.
Hostile over there. Enemy over there.
Good, we're inside.
There's one right here. Downed an enemy.
Yeah, she's down. Somebody in here? She's down.
Down to another.
Care package being delivered.
I have been down.
What? Oh my god. I was healing. I was shielding up and I saw him, so I hit triangle to put that away and to pull my gun out. It pulled out my Havoc instead of my Spitfire, and then by the time that happened, plus winding up for the shot, I didn't even get a shot off and I died.
Double tap trigger.
Yeah, I had so much heavy. Yeah, I mean, like, I was running with heavy because I need to get stuff with it, and I had so much heavy with it, and I just couldn't do anything. I really crapped the bed on that one, guys. I'm sorry. Sometimes in the bed, sometimes in the toilet. Either way, shit happens.
Listen, I've been training all day, so it's about time we do some fighting.
Yeah, but maybe this this ex-NFL player will be able to boost my numbers. It'll be like Ninja and Drake, except on a very, very, very small scale. Yeah, he gave me his gamer tag. He did it in the comments though, which, yeah. So I'll have to brush up on some Warzone.
Master.
Yeah, yeah. So I have to brush up on some Warzone and message him. Yeah, Instagram. Is that a blue market? Let's do that.
Let's land here. Here we go. Ready up.
Y'all know where I'm going. What am I, some vanilla ass bitch? Hell no, I'm going back hole all day. Oh, 2 people dropped with me? I got a longbow.
Yeah, now we're talking. Let's do this.
I just got a longbow, so it's not. Oh, I'm being shot from across the way.
I'm taking shots.
Oh, and I'm shot out over here.
I've been down.
No, I was shot from across the way. There's somebody over there. Somebody just ran down those steps.
Dropping. Sending out my decoy. Reloading.
Yeah, some.
Thanks.
Yeah, I got 20.
Man, we lost one. Now we have to do extra work. Got the
Light
bear.
ammo here.
Time to get a beacon.
I don't have any heals though. He's in here. He took the light ammo.
Man down. Contact.
Getting shot at. Taking him out with it.
He took the light ammo I dropped for you. Oh, okay. Yo, whose idea was it to do a blue fucking market? You're off the team. Yeah. And then All right.
Let's go.
So we're not gonna do that again. We're gonna do better.
I'm gonna be honest, I'm afraid. I'm really afraid. I'm just kidding, nothing scares me.
This is your champion. Something wrong with your head if you fight me.
I'm gonna give that up. I gotta mess up my Alexa app.
Jumpmaster here. You think my buddies and I aren't afraid of heights? This might be a good place to land, but what do I know?
I also didn't eat dinner, so what's up?
Follow the leader.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty hungry. Yeah. Yeah. No, that just came out, didn't it? Yeah.
Let's check out over there.
Yeah. I just started seeing commercials for it like the other day.
First blood. Should have seen that.
I have not, but it does seem like something that could be good. Oh, I hear people running around me. No. Oh, I'm being shot. Oh, Zero with the save. And I got the down. Thank you, buddy.
Enemy down. Already inside.
Oh, train's here.
Go bamboozle. Hostile right here, right in front of me.
G7's syringe.
Alright, I'm hitting that train and these bins. Oh. Phoenix kit. Oh, shit. I got a Phoenix kit for you, Zero.
Hostile close. Contact with hostile.
Reloading.
Reloading.
Getting shot at.
He's down.
Reloading. Enemy down.
Oh, okay, yeah, good. I dropped another stack of light. Nice. I'm going for Zero.
The whole squad. Kinda dropped.
Well done.
Hold on.
Get the bamboozling.
Your help is very helpful.
Light ammo here.
I got a here. Phoenix kit right here.
Phoenix kid here.
Someone's gotta take out the new kill leader. Medic is here.
No, I got 4 shield cells.
Phoenix kid here.
Alright.
I am repairing myself.
Thanks.
Body shield here. Level 1. Might be something good there. G7 scout here.
Yeah, we missed the train bins. Yeah, I don't have that. I have 20 bullets. Alright.
Body shield here.
I need heavy. I got 20 bullets in my prowler. That's it.
Backpack here. Level 2. Man, so good. Shot a cargo by.
No, I don't have a blue backpack. No.
Level 2.
Thermite grenade here.
I'm trying
Let's
to.
go this way.
Yeah, backpack. It's right here. Yeah.
Gotta hop up here. Knockdown shield here. Level 3. Wingman here.
Is there any heavy anywhere?
G7 scout here.
Actually, I don't need that.
Good. We're inside. Standard stock here. Level
Yeah, I'm
2.
gonna have to be something. That 15 is not even gonna help me. So if somebody else wants to take it, I'm gonna switch guns. Yeah, my.
Knockdown shield here.
Here's some heavy up here. Okay.
L-Star here. I bet that care package has some sweet gear for us. Extended heavy mag here. Level 1. Extended heavy
I'll
mag
take
here.
one of
Level
those.
1.
Yeah, I don't have any. Same here. Alright.
Syringe here.
Where'd you drop them at, Grim? Oh, the 3 syringes? No, I didn't pick any up. Out. Oh, okay. Alright. They were over here somewhere. Yeah, I was zipping the boxes when you were done. Okay.
Syringe here.
That's what I've heard too. I have heard that as well. Yeah, it's on the list. On the list, we have a couple things.
Gotta hop up here. Choke.
I mean, you could start a stream and get people interested in your life, and then yeah.
Sending out my decoy. Look out, grenade!
All right.
Threw my grenade out. And they're hitting me.
Getting shot.
Going to check out right here.
Yeah, those grenades fucked me up.
Contact with target.
All right, I'm healing up.
Hostile right here.
Myself up.
I'm so almost dead.
Here. Making contact with enemy.
Oh,
Reloading. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. Wiped the whole squad.
yeah.
Healing up. Eyes are open though.
Light ammo. Heavy here. Flatline here. Syringe here. Shield cell here.
Yeah, I have not many. Alright, so I'm doing it again. I'm dropping this heavy for
I am repairing myself.
here. There's 55 in there.
Ammo here. Extended heavy mag here. Level barrel stable. Standard stock here.
Knockdown shield
Level
here.
3.
Level 3.
Yeah, I have 1 Bernie stick. That's it. I had 4 when we started that fight.
Flatline here. Optics here. Close range.
Oh, this is a crazy 301 skin. I don't know what this is, but I like it.
One minute. Ring's pretty close.
Oh yeah, they're right here.
Enemy spotted. I am taking fire, friends.
vault key.
I am repairing myself.
Oh, I'm being sniped at.
Vault key. Could be useful.
Let's go back to the.
The ring's basically not recharging.
Let's get that vault. Yeah, but we're gonna get the vault.
Heads up. The ring's moving. Got the vault open. Let's see what's inside.
Alright. Grab.
Backpack here. Level 3.
Alright.
I love loot.
Alright.
Give me my shield to recharge.
Yep.
I am taking
Yeah, the ring's coming in anyway.
no, ma'am. Let's check it over there.
Point jumping.
I'm setting a portal
Portal.
for Zero to catch up maybe.
Repairing my damages.
I set the portal.
Oh, I'm so close.
Patching myself up.
Bad news, I'm down. I am down.
Possibly, I just heard his grapple. Okay, yeah. Okay.
One second. We got this.
Target's right in front of me. Good looking out. Using grapple.
Okay.
Let's go here. I am repairing myself.
Patching myself up.
I got him.
This won't help.
Unless do you have a gold bag or something? Oh shit, my bad. Fuck.
1 second. We got this.
Yeah.
Yep, you are wonderful. Thank you. Just gotta patch myself up.
Yeah, you went down by the storm, yeah. Now she turned right to a box.
Reloading. Wow, looks like that was the last one in the squad.
Only 2 other squads left.
Yep.
1 minute. The ring isn't far.
She jumped off. Right here. He had his death thing protecting him from death. Oh shit, behind us.
Taking damage, friend. Contact. 30 seconds.
Yeah, fuck.
It's not safe here.
They're all over me. They're all over me. There's 3 of them. Yeah. Do you have any health? There's somebody right to your left. There's someone behind you now, Grim. To your left. Care package just dropped right next to the. It keeps freezing on me. I want that devotion. Oh, they're here. They're here. They're here. They're here.
Firing. Sending out my decoy.
Shooting at me behind me.
Catching myself up.
Darn shots fired and they're hitting me. I have been down back here.
Alright, should I have a gun? I'm gonna check this building. Oh, fuck.
I got a bad guy. Off the right here, right in front of me.
10 seconds.
Alright.
The ring's close.
I'm trying. I'm working on it. I'm getting guns. No, they cut me off.
In progress.
Yeah, so I didn't have any guns. I had to come all the way back here. Right here. That was a caustic. Was a caustic the one that you fought?
Arcstar out.
Shit, and I'm. What? He hit me. Yeah, he hit me for 135. That I hit him for 15. When I turned around and he popped around that thing, I shot him for 15 with the L-Star, and he hit me for 135. And I only landed one L-Star shot. 301. There's no way. Yeah. That's bullshit. There's no way. No. Yeah, no fuck. That was happening when I was watching Grim. Well, not quite that, but it was like Grim would run and then he would like freeze, and I actually thought he was gonna get disconnected or something, and then he would move again. I don't know, go like 10 or 12, 15 feet, and then he would freeze. So I don't know if it was something, if that guy, I don't know what kind of hacks exist. Yeah.
Ready and excited. I got this thing in the box. Where is it?
Like, where's the fun in that though? Like, who cares if you win if like if you had a hack where like everybody spawned at Harvester and couldn't move and you just ran around punching them to death? Where's the fun in that? I mean, like, if they can't, I mean,
I wish all of you could fight tomorrow too, but you'll be dead.
I'm the jump master. This time.
I don't know.
Got a good feeling about this area. Don't drop in
Yeah,
and hang
it
on.
loses appeal quick though. We got a Wraith. We got, yeah, there's people all over.
Making contact here.
People landed all over with us. Oh shit, there's somebody here with me. I don't have any gun. And I'm being chased and shot.
We're taking shots.
I'm just running.
And it's not us. Wonder. I am taking fire, friends. Firing. Enemy taken down.
Alright, now I can come back. Now that Zero protected me and killed that guy. Alright, I got a triple take. For what gun? For the L-Star? Ah, nice, thank you.
Body shield here. Sniper ammo here.
Okay.
Shotgun ammo here.
Oh, here.
Gotta hop up here. Select fire. The champion fell. Patching myself.
Throwing arc star.
There's, yeah, okay, you got that so far. Hopefully this triple take will work as a shotgun. Alright, watch out, I'm going out. Oh, he's in here now. Boom! Oh my god. Ooh. I almost ripped my controller in half. Oi, oi, oi. Yep. No. Nope. Ain't nobody here. So I haven't set one portal. Like I have to get 15 teammates to a thing, and I haven't completed one of those yet. Yeah, I mean I'm fucking loving it.
But it can be a little
I love when I don't do stuff, man.
We will defeat all of our enemies.
Yep.
Introducing your champion.
I never say die.
Yeah, you gotta get the rechargeable packs, man.
I'm your jump master. This time.
Like just to have like a thing that you can just put the controller on when you're not playing and let it charge like all day. I bought mine at GameStop, but you could probably buy it anywhere. Alright. Nah.
Here we go. Might be something good this way.
The good old brick and mortar GameStop. Alright, I'm going to the highest low. The highest low. The highest low point.
Body shield here. Level 1.
And they can blow you. Oh, I hear, yeah, I hear a bunch of. Just got pulsed, I think.
First blood.
Yeah, somebody's zipping around. Sure.
Next ring's
Oh,
not
okay.
pretty close.
I don't have a shirt yet, so it's not. Ooh, being shot at. I just said I didn't have a shirt, dickhead. I'm down.
This time I'm dead. Hostile close.
I'm being. Thank you, Zero.
Enemy taken down.
From right there?
Contact. Hostile right here.
You got bamboozled, bitch.
That must have been the last one, because no one's avenging or whatever. Reloading.
I got you, friend.
Thank you.
Thanks for that.
Alternator here.
Five extra what and 10 extra energy?
Healing up. Eyes are open though.
There's a sentinel over here.
Kids, the ring's closing in 1 minute.
Light ammo. I need help.
No.
Arcstar here.
I'm dropping this prowler.
Syringe here.
Prowler SMG here.
Oh, just found the med kit.
There is not much time left.
Drop the prowler because I need to do damage with an LMG.
Shot a cargo bot. Tell your friends.
More syringes. Zero, do you not have heals?
I am repairing myself.
Barrel stabilizer here. Level 2.
I need it.
I am repairing myself.
I have an extended sniper mag here. Level 2.
Yeah, I got you. I got you, bro. No. Yeah, I'm going for that. Here, Grim.
Ring's moving.
G7 scout here.
Barrel stabilizer here. Level 1.
Grappling.
All right.
That's
Let's
no champion, huh?
get killing. Well, I'm gonna set a portal because I need you guys to go through it.
Punching a tunnel.
Incoming care package.
Portal placed.
So you can go through that, John. I appreciate the wave. It was Grim. Yeah. Zero, did you do it on purpose? When Pathfinder came out this end of it, he was waving. Yeah. I don't know.
Extended light mag here. Level 1.
Celebration. Grappling.
Oh, left on the D-pad maybe? That you would check your gun, but if you don't have a gun out, maybe that. Yeah, that's what you were doing. You were waiting. Yeah. Like you came through my port. And you're like, here you go. Hi, everybody. Hi. How's... No, left on the D-pad. No, he did some. He did more than that. There it is. There it is. On. Yeah. I cracked my. Oh, I crack my knuckles either like both ways, like flex them out, or like crunch one with the other hand.
Shotgun it. Shield cell here.
I mean, I can carry two.
Standard stock here.
Body shield here. Level 2.
Oh, I hear flying drone.
Thanks.
Barrel stabilizer.
New site.
Optics here. Close body shield here. Level 2.
Optics here. Close range.
Zero, grab that blue. Grab that blue. Blue armor.
Helmet here. Level 1.
Oh, okay.
Barrel stabilizer here.
I was wondering why you didn't take that. You didn't take that other blue thing. Okay. I'm on the zippity zip zop. We definitely went the wrong way. Well, I guess this was the only way to go. Never mind. Well, no, because there's still a mountain that we couldn't get around from where we were.
Healing up. Eyes are open though.
Gotta patch myself up.
Yeah, I got you. I'm gonna set a portal again if we could pippity poo pop.
Syringe here. Placing a portal.
Okay, I'm setting my portal if we could.
Portal's ready.
There's a bunch of energy here.
Energy
4
over here.
boxes of energy.
Havoc here.
How about this way?
Yeah, I could use one if you find a second one.
Spitfire here.
Yeah, I got me a Spitfire A of.
Let's go this way.
Rings close. 45 seconds.
You know what? Another.
Only 30 seconds left on the clock.
Oh, we got people.
Supply bin there. Target spotted.
Looks like a single
Hostile
wraith.
spotted.
Over there. I think she's in this building. She's right there.
Enemy over there. Target over there.
Spotted. The ring's close. 10 seconds.
Oh, I'm being aimed at.
Pretty sure someone's got a shot on me.
Sending out my decoy. Wake up, ring's moving. That thing hurts.
Helmet here.
Yes, that was me.
Got one here.
Oh yeah, that's the probably the same squad.
Shots fired, and they're hitting me. Not running away, just exploring here. Hostile right here, right in front of me.
See that Wraith has a gold shield. Oh shit! Just fucking melted me. And
You thought you were better than me. Now you know the truth.
yeah, that was. I guess the Wraith had a team. It looked like she was by herself, but yeah, they all just like flew on the other side of us. Did the good old fashioned Wraith rape. Do a Wraith rape. It was a rape and smash. Do the Wraith rape. It was a taking a bath. Do the wraith rape. Best kind of raping. Yeah, what, the Frankenstein raping? Yeah.
Okay, I want to be honest. I am afraid. I'm really afraid. Just kidding. Nothing scares me.
I've got everything you need.
I accept the challenge.
This is your champion.
That's so ridiculous. He's so recognizable for not being Asian.
I'm the jump master.
Sean Connery. He's a quintessential non-Asian.
Did you like my moves? My
yeah.
grapple is very useful.
No, his cousin Sean Connery Lee is.
Here we go. Ready up.
No, that's weird. I've never noticed, but I guess the speakers in my headphones are actually vibrating my ears. Like yeah, no, like my earlobes were being tickled. Yeah, it was as weird as it sounds.
RE45 here.
Alternator here.
That's a
I do something
shirt.
good this way. Body shield here. Level 1.
And a hat.
Helmet here. Level 1.
Gotta hop up here. Choke.
I'm gonna slow it down. I'm gonna go with single shotguns. I'll take it.
Dibs.
Havoc here.
I'm gonna stick with the L-Star. I gotta get LMG damage. Yeah, somebody's in here. I hear footsteps. Full. Yeah, right out front. Flat line right here. Awesome.
Dibs.
Yeah, definitely. It sounded like echoey footsteps.
Heavy ammo here. Shotgun ammo here.
They probably heard equally echoey footsteps outside. I need like extra mags. No, you can take it. You can take it. You can take it. You can take it. Okay.
Light ammo here.
More. It was super weird.
Kids, the ring's closing
Extended
in 1
heavy
minute.
mag here. Level 1.
Oh yeah, I have foe. I got foe.
Far ring 40. Heavy ammo here.
It's the ghost footsteps, man. It's weird. We've all thought we heard footsteps.
No bamboozle.
Ten seconds to the ring. It's close at least. Optics here. Close range.
Yeah, I can use that.
Heads up. The ring's moving.
I have way too much light. I'm running the... Oh! Shooter, somebody's looking.
Not
Somebody's...
sure. I think someone's targeting me.
I don't know where.
Taking him out with a decoy.
Spotted one.
Oh, blue bag.
Let's check out over there. Eyes up, dropship incoming.
Care package coming in.
There was a 1 to 2 in that over here where you just were. I thought. No, it doesn't look like there is. Maybe it's the bins in the middle. I just saw 1 to 2.
There is a new kill leader.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
New kill leader. Soon to be me.
Optics here. Close range.
Here.
R301 here.
Heavy ammo here.
Yep.
Barrel stabilizer here. Level 2.
They might have seen
Using grapple. Shield
I have
cell
a feeling someone's watching us.
Yeah.
Knockdown shield here. Heavy ammo here.
Sending out my decoy.
Optics here. Close range.
Got one here. Get out there and bamboozle. Getting shot at. Firing.
View of the enemy.
Downed an enemy.
I think I may have been spotted.
Reloading.
They're down.
One sec, healing up.
Oh, somebody's being respawned right here.
Knocked down.
Alright.
I just gotta patch myself up. Hang
Airstrike. Going to phase.
Oh man, I phased too early, I guess.
Recharging my shield.
Yeah, I was pushing the person who was respawning and their teammate threw a
Recharging my shield.
bombardment at me, but I'm okay.
Patching myself up.
Alright, so I'm gonna set a portal. So when you land, aim for it. It's gonna be on the tracks, right? Right here.
Listen, let's move here. Setting a portal. New kill leader. Watch for them.
Every man's dream.
Portal's ready.
repairing my damages. Let's go here.
Yeah, aim for the tracks. What? No, yeah, I don't see it either. It disappeared. I'm gonna die. I'm dead. Yep.
This time.
I feel good.
Yeah, there was more than one that killed me. All right.
Enemy spotted.
Wait, so is that raise? Good. You made some kind of like what? I don't know. Was it you got? We weren't the second place squad, were we? Yep. Are you fucking kidding me? Pieces of shit. These coffee drinks, the Starbucks double shot energy drinks that I drink, I bought 2 cases of them whatever, like 2 weeks ago, and they were like 20 under $30, and now they're 35 12. But so I just looked at like the pricing history of them. They were like $25 or $27. So that's what I paid for them 2 weeks ago, and now they've jumped up to 35 a piece.
I accept the challenge.
Introducing your champion.
Yeah.
I wish all of you could fight tomorrow too.
You could buy a hand sanitizer thing for like a regular soap size one. Last time I looked, it was like $36. Like all these Nintendo Switches and shit, like everybody's buying yeah, but it's one per trip or whatever. So like if I go to Walmart and I buy Lysol wipes, I can only get one per purchase, but then I just like go back in, and I mean you have to stand in line for whatever, or you have a couple people go in and buy whatever. Yeah, when it first happened, it did. Oh, well, I don't know. Yeah, but I mean, it's a big fine to sell drugs and stuff, but people do it anyway. Yeah, I got somebody up here on me. I'm down. Yeah, yeah, take it all. There was a robot right there that just killed me. Okay. No, I think it's the robot and fast legs. There you go.
Making contact with enemy. Making contact with enemy. Let's move them. Contact. Hostile right here. Hostile close. We should go this way. Contact.
Yep. What, Amazon? Oh, my bad. I thought I was ready up. So they had to donate what? The products?
Trust me. I know what I'm doing.
Well, I mean, yeast should be essential because you make bread with it. I mean, like in a time where like food is becoming, I mean, it's sometimes scarce. It's not like we're starving, but like, so, but like, I've gone in Walmart and like,
That's what I keep telling myself.
when all the shit's going on, like, there's no flour, no sugar, no yeast, no nothing. I mean, like, so like, you don't have anything to buy to make, and like, you even want to make stuff for yourself. Like, there isn't the ingredients to make it from scratch.
Your champion.
I mean.
Push, I slam.
So here we go. Business Insider says Amazon kicked 3,900 sellers off its platform for price gouging.
Maybe we land here, or maybe we don't. I'm fine with whatever.
Yeah, they should be kicked off. Yeah, if you break the terms of service for any platform you're using, you should be booted off of it. Yeah, man, like. Oh, we got two people down there.
Hostile right here.
Opening fire on the enemy. This one, right here.
Oh, now we got like a full squad here.
Up down. Hostile right here, right in front of me.
Reloading.
They're everywhere. I just saw someone over here. Oh,
Target's right in front of me. There's one right here. It's just you and me, friend. Let's not die.
right here. Alright, he's down. I'm executing him just cause fuck him. Actually,
Keep eyes on the new kill leader.
RE45 here.
yeah, there's a syringe in there.
Syringe here.
Take it. Take it. I got. Okay. Oh. Well, then, yeah, I'll take that syringe. What's wrong here? Okay.
Picking myself up.
That's good.
Oh my god.
Alright. Alright. Yeah, I don't have a shirt. Oh, here. I got shield cells for you. Shit. Oh, it overheated. What? Oh, I'm out of bullets for my energy gun. Fuck! Yeah, I'm really hungry, so I'm about to come out and eat something. Alright, not right now. I'm gonna play another game. I was talking to Kim. She wanted me to taste her ice cream, so.
So this was like $8 though.
Nah, we got it from. We ordered lunch. Got lunch delivered, and she got ice cream with it.
But
Miller's.
I love how like it's like $5 for Ben and Jerry's, and it's like
Mhm.
that's so
Yeah.
expensive. And I'm like, let's get like 5 of these if nothing else through DoorDash.
Mhm.
So it'll be like $50.
No, I don't know anything about a Captain Barrel of weirdness. Oh, maybe is that a pirate ice cream?
Yeah.
Yeah, Kim said yes. What's the name of it? It tastes like a chocolate chip
It was
thing.
like Captain Jack Pirate. Oh, Captain Jack's Buried Treasure.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like, nah, I don't know what you're talking about. It tastes like a chocolate cookie and cream thing.
You want some more?
No, I'm good. I'm gonna go eat some real food shortly.
I just
I am
spy
trying to
grapple.
do one.
It's Captain Jack's Pirate Ice Cream pint of
Against me, or you're with me
chocolate
against me.
pleasure.
I'll be honest, that happens sometimes.
It's one long title, but
This is your champion.
It takes a lot to take me out.
I'm the jump master. This time. Let's make a choice. Land here.
Heard that.
Dropping in. Hang on.
if you would have told them, they'd fix it. You just say, hey, I paid a bunch of money, like, this is fucked up. And they're like, oh, I'm sorry, here you go.
Oh boy, next ring's far.
You don't even need to do that. You just say, hey, my shit's fucked up, bro.
First blood.
And they're usually like, alright, bro, you're cool, bro.
Watch out for the new Punisher. Mid-range.
Somebody's at the wall with me.
Reloading.
Oh yeah, look at that fucking... Not... No. They're chasing me out. That hip fire not fucking working at all.
I am taking fire, friends.
I don't know. No, it doesn't look like it.
Throwing thermite grenade. Go bamboo. Giving my shields.
Oh, yep. I broke the dude with the All-Stars.
Hostile smoke. Making contact with enemy. Hostile
God damn it.
contact on target. They're drawing down an enemy. Contact.
I wish there was more time to spend with you.
So I just earned some premium currency. What's that put me at? So I am at level 88. So I now have enough. Well, I have enough to buy the next season's thing. So I'm good as of now, technically. Yeah. Yeah, probably, but every season you get 50 extra, so I have 150 extra. So I had 50 extra from season 1, 50 extra from season 2. This will be 50 extra from season 3, I think. I don't know. Or from season 4. But I didn't buy season 1, so started. So everything I said but started at season 2. Yeah, so you had Mirage from like Jump Street. You were able to buy them. Nah, you bought them with the gold stuff. You had Mirage right away. Yeah. They are, I think 750 with the gold or 1200 with the red. I could be wrong.
Introducing your champion.
Close combat gets messy.
No, you can buy your crafting materials as well.
Plan here. Follow the leader.
Alright, I'll hit. You guys can have the bins. I'll hit some picnic tables, picnic blankets. Okay.
Light ammo here. Get the bamboo. And they're hitting me. Enemy taken down.
Oh, yep. Oh, they're up top here.
Attack with target.
I am so almost dead. I don't think I have any heals. No, I do not. That's what I was going to do when this dude popped in. Now, does he have heals? No heals. Shit. I didn't take anything. That's all you. I'm just looking for heals. I hear footsteps.
Making contact with enemy. Sending out my decoy.
One here.
Yeah, I hit him for like 30
Fire.
We killed the last member. Good. I got you.
and 0 hit him with a right hook. Thank you.
All good. Catching myself up.
Why are you fucking falling down, Wraith? Get up. You're embarrassing yourself.
Giving my shield a recharge.
Body shield here.
3-1 here.
Level 1.
I'll take that.
No.
Just gotta patch myself up. Hang on.
1 minute. Ring's not far.
One sec. Healing up.
Shotgun ammo here.
45 seconds. Ring's not
Shotgun
too far.
bolt
I'm
here.
okay with that.
Level 2.
Only 30 seconds left on the clock. The ring's close. Gotta hop up here. Choke.
Ooh, Spitfire.
Eva 8 here.
There was an Eva with a blue bolt and a bunch of shotgun ammo. I pinged that. I don't remember what else.
10
I don't
seconds to
know if I
break.
pinged
It's close
anything
at
else.
least.
But I remember that because I pinged it.
Healing up. Eyes are open now.
Frag grenade here. Extended heavy mag here. Level 2. Wake up, ring's moving. This thing hurts. Dibs.
Catching myself up.
Alright, here you go, Zero. I got a.
Frag grenade here.
Med kit here. Frag grenade
Med kit
here.
for your Zero. Oh.
I am repairing myself.
Attention. There is a new kill leader.
Eyes on the new kill leader.
Syringe here.
Incoming care package.
It's right out back at his house. Right out back of that.
Let's explore this way. Light ammo here.
You guys looking for fraggy grenades? No, I didn't touch that building yet.
Energy ammo here.
Let's check out over there. Syringe here.
Thermite grenade here. R99 here.
Nobody wants this 99?
Grappling. Got a bad guy.
Alright, I'm gonna set up a portal, Zero, when you come down this hill.
Optics here.
If you want to pop through that, and I'll try to get it all the way to you, Grim. So this way, maybe you can pop through it as well. As well.
Placing a
Oh,
token.
okay. I'm setting it right now. There you go. You come out of the safe spot. Oh shit! They're here on me. Of course, they fucking peacekeeping, I'm sure. Watch the portal.
Enemy killed. I'll take care of it, don't worry. Contact with target. Throwing through my grenade. Through my grenade.
Maybe we should portal out of here and revive.
Decoy escape deployed.
And then he can get us up. No. Oh shit, you went. Fuck.
Giving my shields a recharge. Just gotta patch myself
They
up.
came through the portal.
Contact with hostile.
I'm about to be a box.
Hostile right here. Contact with enemy.
I'm a box. I was gonna be a box either way. In fact, I might have timed out. That's fine. No, that's good, that's good. No, both are on the minimap, I think.
New kill leader.
Yeah, I see it. I should have heals in my box.
I am repairing myself. You getting shot at. Opening fire.
Danger move.
Up down. Reloading. I am taking fire, friends. I am down.
This one hurts. Hold on.
Are they pushing?
Your help is very helpful.
Right there in front of you? Oh yeah, two are the side. Fuck. Yeah, I definitely do need some food. Yeah, let me go do that. I'll be RBs. BRB chat. second to get set up. Alright. Bam. Alright. Hologram, and I use invisibility wherever I am. I eat potato ham. Got me some cranberry sauce. Time for some social eating. Yeah, that happens to me with Wraith all the time. Happens to me with Wraith all the time. I had some leftover ham. There was a mozzarella stick left over from lunch. I had that. I got a bacon cheeseburger, some fries. There was a couple fries left over. That sort of stuff. I mean, not when you pay somebody to deliver to your house. I'm ready. We can rock and roll. Not when you pay somebody to deliver to your house. I don't know what it was. Kim paid for it, but what do we do? How do we do it? What's the happenings? What's it do? Read, click it, read it to us, tell us. So are they Evo shields? So no, everybody got their own thing. For the Christmas thing, everybody had their own loadout. The firing range. You're not. Yeah, sir. No. It was my potty breaks thing. That's what's happening right now.
Thing with one eye closed, or both eyes closed. Hell, I don't even have to show up.
He made the right choice this time. Introducing your champion.
So okay, so we start with 2 syringes, white armor, and a P2020 with a circle sight on it. At least that's what my loadout was. No, it popped up like in the character select. It said loadout P2020, white armor, 2 syringes, and I saw the P2020 had a circle sight. Oh, no, we are playing that mode. No, there's a Havoc up here. Oh, I'm coming. Oh, we got a caustic pushing too. Our caustic's down.
Enemy taken out.
Grenade. Reloading. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, wipe the squad. I have the banner. Someone's getting his squad back.
Oh, Revenant just shot his thing. I need energy.
Abilities are kaput. Feeling a little visible here.
Light ammo here.
Oh, he's up here. Shit.
Can't use my abilities.
I think that was the whole squad. Last guy just kind of dropped.
Havoc rifle here.
I got a bunch of syringes.
Catching myself up.
Alright, so we gotta get them back. Yeah, I'll take those.
Heavy ammo here.
But I have a bunch too. Yeah, no, I don't.
1 sec, healing up.
Yeah, I have a bunch too. I'm coming. Oh. Okay. Here. That's 4 syringes. So.
Here I come.
Yeah. So that's 4 syringes. There's more syringes over there.
Syringe here.
Nice.
Shot a cargo body. Tell your friends.
Oh, nice.
Gotta hop up here. Optics here. Close range. P20 Mozambique here.
Great. Already inside the ring.
Oh shit, yeah, I forgot all about Hammer Point.
Heavy ammo here. Syringe.
Yeah, I grabbed some of them and I dropped them over at his thing. Yeah, I got. Yeah, I'm running energy also.
package being delivered.
Gotta hop up here.
Incoming care package. I love loot.
Need
Light
light
ammo
ammo. Oh, there's RE45 down there next to that light ammo also.
Extended light mag here. Level 2.
Fuck yes, I could use
Dibs.
that shite. Put that in my alternator.
Backpack here. Level 2.
Oh, another 2x. Drop that 3x for you.
Optics here. Mid-range.
Oh, 301. I'll take that over the.
Level 2.
Take that over that alternator. Would have been nice.
Optics here. Close range. Optics here. Close range. Syringe here. Arc star here.
Flatline here. Heavy ammo here.
Shit. Yeah, I don't have a lot of. Yeah, there's
Syringe here. Heavy
Two.
ammo here.
4 boxes.
Heavy ammo here.
I still got.
Heavy ammo here.
Well, there's heavy ammos around.
Might be something good there.
Heavy ammo here.
Faking him out with a decoy.
Barrel stabilizer here. Level 2.
And there's any.
Havoc here.
No. Okay, I'll just run to wherever.
How about this way?
I don't see any movement.
Making contact with enemy. Hostile right here, right in front of me. Go Bazoomba,
Bam bamboo.
firing. We killed the last member. Good work, team. Heavy light ammo here.
I'll take that anvil shit.
Barrel stabilizer here. Level 3.
Yeah, thermo's still in there.
Shield
No, I
here.
put that in there. I took something out. Put that in there.
Round 2. Beginning ring countdown.
Lucky us, we are already inside the ring.
Yeah, I got 8 syringes and 2 med kits. No.
Attention. The kill leader has been eliminated.
I guess I could. No, I do not. I got 2 X's. 2 2X's. No, you're not quite with it.
Spotted one.
Okay. The building you pinged doesn't look like it's looted. Either.
Phoenix kit here.
U-site.
Optics here. Close range.
Barney stick.
Thermite grenade here. Extended light mag here. Level. Oh, extended heavy mag here. Level 3.
No. I thought I was like giving you great news.
Vault
Optics
key
here.
here. Not a
Close
bad choice
range.
to grab it.
Where's the?
Thermite grenade here.
There are no more vaults. Oh yeah, the train yard. Under the train yard there is. I don't know if it's open or not.
Let's
Okay.
explore this way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got one spotted.
Yo, should I run double energy? There's so much energy. Should I run double energy? Would that be crazy?
Attention. There is a
Alright, I'm
new
dropping all
kill
this
leader.
light then.
Heads up. New kill leader.
In progress. Care package being delivered.
Check it out. Care package coming in.
You're about to. You getting burned, or you're about to get burned.
Throw through my grenade.
Oh, right here. They're right here.
Making contact with enemy.
I'm in.
I am taking fire, friends. Hostile close. Hostile right here.
Yeah, I'm shielding up real quick.
Contact with enemy. Making contact with enemy.
Recharging my shields.
Hostile right here. Reload contact. Enemy down. Contact with target. I've got another.
Got the third.
This way.
Yep. They're dead.
That was the last one. Nice work.
Only 2 bad guy squads left. Reloading
Extended
here.
light mag
How
here.
about that?
Level 3.
You got heavy over here. 59 though.
Heavy
230 light.
ammo here.
Somebody needs to heal up. Ooh.
Optics here. Close range.
Repairing.
Here. No, they don't. There is only level 1
One
vests.
Rings pretty close.
Grim's like, yeah, no, I got one. And he's like, oh, you did? Everybody's got
Backpack.
0. There's a purple bag here.
Rings not too far. 45 left. Cancel. Backpack here. Level 3.
Nobody wants these shield batteries? I have.
30 seconds. Rings
Okay.
close.
Alright, I'll take them. Y'all don't want them.
Barrel stabilizer here. Level 3. Extended heavy mag here. Level 2.
I need an energy mag is what I need.
Double tap
I need an
trigger.
energy
I
mag.
had somebody say doubling? 'Cause
I know, they
said
don't.
that, actually. 10 seconds. The ring is fairly close.
Yeah. Yeah, they dropped the Havoc down to 28. 28 bullets to start, and then you can get a mag to take it all the way up to 32, I think.
But that care pack. There's one right here.
Any pussy buddies? Any other pussy buddies?
Heads up, got one here.
Dude, I am loving all this fucking energy. I have 480 energy bullets. Sure. Oh.
Round 4. Beginning ring countdown.
Oh, actually, yeah, here. I'm sending portals for you guys to take just back and forth here. Yeah, I'm sending one between you and Zero.
Placed.
Zero, did you take it?
Enemy spotted.
Okay, take the portal. Take the portal. There you go. Grim, yeah, Grim is left.
Ring's close. One more minute.
They just set a zip line to there.
Let's go this way.
Bad guy over there. Enemies, let's go here.
Yeah, this person, but that might be their teammate. I don't know.
Got one spotted.
Enemy spotted.
Oh, we're shooting? Okay. Alright, there's somebody on that where the zip line starts.
Here.
Zipline deployed.
You got bamboozled.
Alright, I see people up there.
Target over there.
By the respawn, there's like 2 people.
Already inside.
Reloading.
Enemy down.
Throw my grenade up. Shots fired and they're hitting me.
I'm taking fire, friends.
They're bamboozled. Recharging shields.
Guy back here just killed me.
Hostile close.
Decoy escape.
Alright, he's healing up. I gotta go hide and get myself up.
I got a bad guy.
Hostile. Contact with hostile. Oh no, there's another squad. I have been down.
Enemy down. Taking him out with a decoy.
Contact with hostile.
They're dropping. Downed another.
Enemy over there.
Someone died today. But not me. Not now. Patching myself up.
Downed an
I'm
enemy.
coming to you, Zero.
Killed an enemy.
Killed this Mirage. He was just fucking like...
Ring's not far.
No, I just killed him.
Go out and bamboozle him.
Thank you. Repairing my damages. Great. The ring is close. Less than a minute.
Target's right in front of me.
Med kit here.
Seconds remain. The ring is nearby.
Bad guy over there.
I got a portal, if we can...
One sec, healing up.
Who's ready to fly on a zip line? I am.
I mean, that's basically what the Mirage was doing. I thought I was going to be bamboozled, so like... Oh, right here?
Reload. I downed an enemy.
That's what I'm talking about. Bang, 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 bang. Kuna Matata, y'all don't want no problems. Double energy is my new favorite shit. L-Star. Yeah. Me too.
Not gonna lie, I'm pretty good at this. Okay, I do lie, but not this time.
This is my favorite part.
Boom. Oh, I gotta set up my music. My music never worked. Alexa was like, internet problems.
I'm the jump master. This time.
Wait, it's saying. Yeah, I think so. Let's do Scrapple City again.
Got a good feeling about this area. Here we go. Ready up.
Yeah, he lives Scrapple City, New Jersey. Oh my God! Where did you come from? Oh yeah, this team just fucked me up. I'm executed. So that was fun.
Now in setup. Instructions in your Alexa.
Password I entered was... How is that incorrect? That's definitely not incorrect. 100% the password. My Echo isn't connected to the Wi-Fi, and it's saying the password you entered is incorrect, but the password that was in there already from before was correct and was. It's saying it again. Like, that's 100% my Wi-Fi password. Yeah. I know.
Yeah, this match is gonna be extravagant.
I'm looking at the it's very simple. But I'm looking at my no. It's semi-random. It's a word, 4 numbers, a word, 4 numbers, a word. So right, so to right, to recite it off the top of my head, I wouldn't know it, but to look at it, I absolutely know it. You know what I mean? No, everything is the same. It's like,
Place to land. Hold your breath. If you have a respiratory system.
I don't. Okay, I'll try my 5G network. You know, I'm a fancy boy. I got 2 networks. I like that you screamed like it was actually painful for it. Like you were feeling the G's. Like, I can almost make it. Nah, dude, I get it.
Round 1. Beginning ring countdown. Attention. First blood.
Heavy ammo here. First blood.
L-Star here.
Ooh, else.
Eva 8
I'm
here.
on the way. I hear somebody. I think we got footsteps. And they're zipping. I hear zippers.
Taking them out with a decoy.
Okay. I'm gonna. Yeah. What? Oh, fuck yes. Is there energy? Do we have energy? Anybody please tell me that?
Heavy ammo here.
RE-45 here.
Might be something good this way.
Okay, you got that? Yeah. Hop off. Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't sure. I didn't know you were that close. I was gonna try to grab that for you. Alright, cool. Yes. Yes. I have so many grenades.
Arc star here.
Oh, yeah, I'll take a 2x.
I could use that.
Yay.
Optics here. Close range.
Extended heavy.
Yay.
New kill leader. Watch for them.
Yay, I'm excited about this. The gold Havoc, and I got a gold stabilizer. And I got 5 grenades, and I got 200 energy ammos.
5 seconds.
Helmet here. Level 2.
Yeah, I can use that.
Let's go this way.
Heavy ammo here. Extended light mag here. Level 2.
I just found a purple light
Sorry.
clip. Yeah, they're both in the by the respawn area. No, I picked it up. There's a blue one. There's a blue one I didn't ping.
Level 2.
10 seconds. The ring is fairly close.
Maybe I did. Maybe I did ping it. Yeah, I did. Okay.
Use that.
Progress.
Rings coming in.
Do we want to push it? Do we want to cook it? Energy ammo. Yes, please. All of the energy ammo. I really did like the dual energy. It was a lot of fun. Yes. Yes. Give me all the
Care
energy.
package coming in.
Shield cell here.
Oh, 4 boxes of energy. Holy shit. So much energy.
Shield cell here.
Yeah, man. 300 heavy ammo over here.
Heavy
4
ammo
boxes
here.
of heavy over here.
Heavy ammo
Then
here.
3 boxes of light.
Dibs.
See? Alright, isn't it exciting? All this ammo? Like, there's never this much energy ammo.
Extended light mag here. Level 2. Heavy ammo here.
Shotgun ammo here.
Not
Forget that.
heavy. There you go.
Heavy ammo here.
Extended heavy mag here. Level 1. Energy ammo here.
Champion eliminated.
That champion didn't really intimidate me. Who's ready to fly on a zip line? I am.
Nah, all the heavy's for you. It's bulging out of my pockets. Purple heavy.
Extended
Ooh,
heavy mag here.
Mastiff.
Mastiff here.
Oh, I don't know. I'll be giving up. Okay.
Hostile spotted.
Alright, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I mean, I'm gonna do it, and hopefully it'll be well.
Kill leader.
Someone's got to take out the new kill leader. They're too cocky. Contact with. Never mind. Threw my grenade out. Frag out. Opening fire. Reload. Bad news. I'm down. Reloading.
That was the last one. Nice work.
Good kill, friend.
Yeah.
Repairing.
And I mastiffed the shit out of that, bruh.
Repairing my damages. Recharging shields. Just gotta patch myself up.
Setup mode is off.
Alright, here, I'm dropping this.
Device reconnect.
Get the
Barrel
bamboozling.
stabilizer here. Level 4.
Round 2. Beginning ring countdown.
Contact with hostile.
Yeah, that's fine. Oh,
Pretty sure someone's got a shot on me. Need to recharge my shields.
Recharging shields. Reloading. Sending out the decoy.
Healing up. Eyes are
Hostile
open
right
there.
here, right in front of me. Bad news. I'm down. Down.
I'm taking shots.
oh, are you kidding me? I hit that Gibraltar for 105. That Wraith slid out to me. I hit her in the head for 135 and downed her. But the Gibraltar turned around with an L-star before I could swing and shoot him. I was wrecking it. Yeah, we shouldn't have lost that, man. That sucks.
Each choice changes everything.
All right, let's do this. It'll be fun. If not, well, you know, we all make bad choices. You live, you learn.
Did you guys see me in that
Nothing else to lose.
player
It's easy
card?
to win.
Because I didn't see me.
I'm the jump master this time. Let's land here.
Scrapple City.
Dropping in. Hang on.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun.
Something good there.
Picked up a
Gotta hop up here. Double tap trigger. Hemlock here.
somebody else could have had one. I opened both of these, but somebody else could have had it though.
Keeper here.
Oh shit. Yeah, I guess I will.
Inside the ring. Just saying.
I could use that.
You know what? I'm just gonna do the Havoc because I enjoy it. So I'm giving somebody my energy, or not my energy, my heavy. I'll take that. Good job. Oh, and a 301.
Here. Level 1. R301 here. New kill leader. Watch for them.
Yeah, like I don't understand you guys. It's like not that difficult.
Heavy ammo here. Shotgun ammo here.
Nah, man, never. I ain't never done another thing like that. Not never. Not never.
Extended light mag here. Level 1. Standard
Yeah.
stock here. Level 1.
I'm. It didn't act like it. Yeah, it acted like it deleted
Level
the.
3. Thermite grenade here.
Yeah.
I could use that.
It was like, yo, we're gonna prank Zero. We're gonna pretend like we're deleted. Yeah. Door was open over here.
Gotta hop up here.
Yeah.
Select fire.
Sweet. Alright. Yeah, it's probably me sliding around. Yeah, that's me. I'm a slider. I'm a slider McSliderson. Alright, where you want to go?
Let's explore this way.
Alright, you know who says they're not stuck on stuff? People who are stuck on stuff. I'm not stuck on this wall right here. My tongue's not stuck to this pole.
Standard stuff. Barrel stabilizer here.
That's what the. You don't remember the pimp that used to walk around in the background? He'd be walking around like, yo, bitch, stick your tongue on my pole, it'll never come off. Yeah, I distinctly remember that guy part of 1950s Americana. Yeah, the director's cut.
Hostile close.
Backpack here. Heavy ammo, light ammo here.
Okay, I got a 3X. I don't see anybody moving around. I think I keep hearing gunshots in the distance, but every time I go to listen, I don't hear them anymore, so. I don't know if it's just clicking in my headset or what's happening.
Got a cargo bot over there. Let's hope it's good.
Yeah, we did. Shooting like a bunch of amateurs. Blue helmet for you though.
Helmet here.
You can have all
Level
of
2.
that stuff.
Optics here. Close range.
Oh, more energy? I mean, I guess if Grim's back, we can just quit and join him. I mean, we're not even finding anybody. I mean, haven't seen anybody, so.
Heavy ammo here.
Keep eyes on the new kill leader.
The champion made a poor
Doobity dub
choice.
dubs. The wubba dub dub dubs. See, I feel like that's a t-shirt. You know what I mean? Yeah, like I'm getting the wubba dub dub dubs. Or something like that. I don't know. Crossing two cool things.
Spitfire here.
Good, we're inside.
Like I saw some fan art. It might even been a t-shirt advertised on Facebook to me. And it was Sonic. Then it looked like Sonic doing like a Nike commercial or like a Nike ad. And I thought that's interesting. Like It's not like Kobe or Michael Jordan. It's like, yeah, it's a made-up character. And I'm like, that's kind of cool. That's fucked up, but that's very funny.
Optics here. Barrel stabilizer here. R99 here. Standard stock here. Level 2. Medkit here.
That'll do it. Yeah, we...
Lucky us, we are already inside the ring.
Actually, that's probably more important than having 420 energy rounds, right?
Care package coming in.
Well, I'm double energy now. I wish I was Bloodhound.
Gotta hop up here.
I know, I haven't even... I thought I heard bullets a couple times, but... turns out I haven't. And we've never had to, like, been pushed by the storm. We've just kind of been putzing around.
Lucky us, we are already inside the ring.
Yeah, they're gonna be, like, in here jerking each other off or something.
Knocked
I
out
hear
shield
shots.
here. Extended light mag here. Level 2.
Oh, here, do you have big stuff? There's shield battery, med kit. If you don't want it, I'll take it, but you, whatever. I have plenty. Here, there's another battery over here.
Shield
I
battery
got plenty. I'm stacked.
We're doing great. Only 2 other squads remain.
Battery. I think battery takes 4 seconds. Shield cells take 3 apiece. I think. More energy. Yeah. Let's go to the roof. I got a 3x. That's on the other side of the...
Target spotted.
Okay. Oh, we're being shot at from behind too, I think.
Pretty sure someone's got a shot on me.
Or maybe, or... yeah. What? Oh, they got a Kraber.
This time I'm down.
They just downed me with one shot.
Thanks for that. Need to recharge
Yeah.
my shields.
Yeah, somebody has a Kraber. It's only gonna take one shot to the...
Recharging shields. Already inside.
Okay, yeah, I see him.
Repairing myself.
Care package coming in.
They just went to, yeah, they just went to the care package. They might have got a mastiff or something.
I am down.
1 second, we got this.
Thank you. I am repairing myself.
Okay, yeah, they're pushing to the right still. Oh, they're pushing up the street. And we just got pulsed from a bloodhound. I just saw the... Somebody's here. Alright, shield up, I got you.
Frag out. Contact with target.
Oh, caustic over here. I'm about to die. Oh no! Shit, somebody fouled me off.
We have our Apex champions.
We didn't see anybody till the end. Yeah. We... Yeah.
I'm tougher than I look. Don't be afraid of the dark. Don't be afraid of the dark.
It's not your fault. I get it. But this is just the way it goes. It's not your fault. I get it. But this is just the way. You thought you were better than me. Now you know the truth. You thought...
Of all the fights, this was a particular. Is a really good one. Is what I'm trying to. Of all the fights, this one.
Yeah, yeah. Invite sent. Don't. Alright, I'm just looking at. I got skins and shit. Got a bunch of red dots and it annoys me. Yeah. Like when you have new stuff. Yeah, banners or whatever when you get new stuff. Yeah. Yes. Dance with the devil in the pale moonlight while we shake hands with the babies in the Dow Jones fights. This is my favorite part.
You know, I don't take myself too seriously. I don't take myself anywhere, really. I need to get out more.
Bam, 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 bam.
This is your champion.
So did you re-download Warzone, or no? You didn't do that, or what's happening?
I'm the jump master.
Because we got an ex-NFL player who's looking to be our squad mate.
It all ends the same way. With me observing.
Let's make a choice. Land here.
Loud and clear.
In time, the strong will feel.
Here we go. Ready up.
Let's check out over there. Might be something good this way.
Yep. Somebody landed deeper in the... Okay, I'm coming.
First blood on the enemy. And they're hitting me. Sending out my decoy. Enemy taken down.
He turned himself to a box. There's 2 syringes, 10 bullets.
Light ammo here.
He's got his 10 bullets in
Close
there.
range.
Give him my shield. Target over there. I just gotta patch myself up. Hang on. Sending out my decoy. Contact with target.
Chasing him up, he's setting gas traps. He went all the way up.
Taking damage, friend.
I'm getting hit over here.
Are you coming? We're here. Yeah, I grabbed it. Yeah. Went back here.
Contact with target.
Stepped right in front of me, bro.
Been the last one because no one's revenging or whatever.
I need some heals.
Healing up. Eyes are open though.
Nah, like, just as my Havoc started firing, you stepped in front of me and, like, blocked my shots.
I am repairing myself.
No big deal. It can't be avoided.
Extended heavy mag here. Light ammo here. RE-45 here. Barrel stabilized. Extended light ammo here.
Only 30 seconds left on the clock.
Actually, you know what? I'm gonna do shotgun. I'll do double heavy later, or double energy later if there's enough. But for starters, I think having a shotgun when people don't have a lot of shields is definitely beneficial.
The ring's close.
Frag grenade here. Light ammo here.
In progress.
Extended heavy mag here. Level 1. Optics here. Close range.
Somebody got that purple heavy mag I pinged? Not yet.
Syringe here.
Care package being delivered.
Respawn ship.
I love loot.
Let's explore this way. Punching a tunnel.
Opening fire on the enemy. Reloading. Reloading.
I set a portal to get you up onto the
Setting up my decoy.
porch.
Myself. Who's ready to fly on a zip line? I am. Throw my grenade out.
This is Gibraltar minute. Okay.
They might have seen you. I have a feeling someone's watching this.
Might be something good there. Gotta hop up here. Camera point.
Yeah.
Shots fired. Got that guy.
Shield cell here.
Attention. The champion has been released. Now in setup mode. Follow the instructions in your Alexa app.
It's a good day to take out some fools and be back in time for dinner. I got pork chops tonight. Yeah.
This is going to be fun.
Each choice changes everything.
Introducing your champion.
I fall only when the gods will it.
Don't confuse my kindness for weakness.
Let's land here. Here we go. It's a long drop. Fun. Let's go this way.
There's a bunch of squads.
Opening fire on the enemy.
Enemy taken out.
Squad attacking.
First blood. Keep it up.
Reloading.
They spotted me. I'm taking shots.
Fuck.
Making contact with enemy.
Alright, enemy down. Reloading.
Alright, I think this is gonna be my last game.
Recharging shields.
What did you think you were gonna do? Win against me? Take care, brother.
Hostile right here. Making contact with enemy. Let's move this way. Hostile close. Making contact with enemy.
Attention. There is a new kill leader.
Alright, fellas. It was fun. It was a good night. So. I don't know. None of it sounds familiar. But anyway, fellas, adios. It's been real. Yep. See yous. Alright. And I don't like that it's a big thing like that. But anyway, thank you for stopping by. I appreciate it. Whether it's Facebook, Twitch, Mixer, YouTube, whether you were here for a minute, 5, 10, or an hour, it means everything to me that you stop by for a little bit. Big shout out to Zeddy, who always comes through almost every stream. Big shout out to him. I want to thank Grim for the games. I want to thank Zero for the games. I appreciate you stopping by this. I also appreciate the engagement I get on my social medias, mainly Instagram, but it's Mechanic on all socials except Twitter. It's Mechanic G. I also have another art Instagram that is drawings, illustrations, paintings, that sort of thing. That's art.mechanic. Follow me on all the above. You'd be